Welcome back everyone to part 3 of the Tamiya Wild One Blockhead Motors video build. In our last video, we completed the assembly of the rear end of the car, suspension, shocks, gearbox, and the roll cage. In this video, we wrap up the build by installing the electronics, wheels and tires, stickering up the body, and some other final assembly steps. Okay, let's get to it. Let's start things off by opening and sorting Bag C. As mentioned in part 1, we'll be using a Futaba S3050 servo to handle the steering duties. However, any servo should work just fine. Tamiya wants you to remove the lip on the ball cups. However, I left mine on to allow a little more grip on the threaded rods. You'll need to subtract about a ½ millimeter to your rod measurements though. After final completion of the car, I don't really see any interference, so I'm not sure why the kit needed to have this done. When installing, pay close attention to the orientation of these rods. The long one should go on the right side of the car, the short one on the left. Install these screws, but do not tighten all the way down just yet. Center the servo so that the left and right axles are perpendicular to each other. Once you've found that spot, tighten down the screws underneath. While we've installed the electronics to best suit us, feel free to mount yours however you'd like. Quick note, make sure when connecting the motor wires that the clear sleeves press into each other. Another quick note, the steering servo should always plug into port 1, the ESC should always plug into port 2. On both of these, the white wire should be facing in as well. Alright, let's build the other set of light buckets. These assemble just like the ones we did in part 1 of this build series. And just like the first set, you only need to snug these down until the lights don't move on their own. At this point, we need to start adding the decals to the body panels. We're going to blow through this quickly, but we suggest starting with decal number 1 on the sheet and continuing from there. Also, the soapy water trick we used in part 1 will really help during the application process. While not necessary, we added a little extra detail to the driver with some fancy red gloves and a detailed helmet. Per the instructions, you may need to trim the cockpit slightly to help with wire routing. While installing this crossbar, use the kit-provided L-wrench to help keep it from twisting. We applied a couple bits of tape to the template and laid it on top of the netting prior to cutting. We found that this template was a bit large and needed a little additional trimming. More on that in a second. Whatever you're using to create these holes, be careful not to make them too big. And don't forget to remove the protective film from both sides of the plastic as well. So the netting was a bit too big for our liking, so we trimmed it down slightly to fit the area. Much better. You don't need to crank down these zip ties. We left ours with an itsy bit of slack to allow them to flow a bit. You may notice that even though these screws have a flat head, the yellow decal doesn't sit well over them. We have a fix. Use a hairdryer or heat gun to slowly heat up the area. The water will evaporate from under the decal, and the heat will help it conform better to the area. Here's how those decals look once we hit them with a heat gun. Looks pretty good, right? Once you get the tires assembled, you can permanently mount them with some hobby CA. Be careful though, as the CA bonds fingers just as easily as it does the tires. When attaching the wheel-tire combo, make sure the wheel keys to the holes in the wheel adapter. After attaching the front wheels, give them a quick flick to make sure they spin freely. These last two screws are a little tricky as you need to hold a flange nut in place underneath. Not easy with chubby fingers. When slipping the body into place, divert the little metal holders on the back of the body behind the roll cage. The front of the body will then drop into place. Note the orientation of the battery plate during assembly. It is directional. Woohoo! Great job! That wraps up the Tamiya Wild One Blockhead Motors Edition video series. This has been a really fun build, certainly different than all the race cars we do. Thanks to everyone who tuned in to watch, and if this video helped you out, please give it a like. While you're at it, why not subscribe and click that bell icon to be notified of future builds. Thanks for watching.